Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rifgal. We are going to do some Zelda Randomizer. This is an open world seed, pretty straightforward. I'm gonna go ahead and do a slight backwards check here. I've seen this route in a couple times in some of the recent tournaments that I've been watching. I don't necessarily know if it's better, but I kind of like it. Basically, the idea here is going to be to take an alternate route to ideally get some bomb, or increase the chances of getting bombs before getting to Kakarot. So we're going to do a couple stops first, and then be on our way. If this is your first time watching a Zelda Randomizer, first of all, hopefully you enjoy it. There's a whole backlog if you decide you enjoy it. Ooh, come back here, Crab. I don't have the ability to pick you up yet. Never mind. Zelda Randomizer is Link to the Past, basic map, except for all of the locations of the items that would be in treasure chests, all of the rewards from NPCs, from bosses, are randomized, which means that our goal is going to still be to find the crystals so that we can beat Ganon, but in order to do that, we need to get the correct items to beat each dungeon. I don't have the ability to do this yet. I'm off to a great start. So, first thing we're doing is doing a bunch of overworld checks, and the idea with that is we're just trying to see what's available and then plan a route from there. Generally, as you play this, through the seed, which is the specific randomized values, it'll start coming clear where you're supposed to go. In this case, so far we have a whole lot of nothing. Lamp is good though. Lamp gives us a little bit of direction. That means that we can do dark rooms in logic. That means we can potentially do sewer escape once we get a weapon. Key means once we actually go into the sewers, we have a way, or we can actually get through it. The keys are always going to be in places that are accessible. Basically, a key will never be behind a locked door. Same with items. The items that you need will never be behind a door that requires it, basically. Like if you're going into a room that requires if you're trying to go into Skull Woods, which requires the fire rod cannot be past that. Oh, good. Fortunately, we accidentally knocked him out, and that's gonna be close. Okay. We're gonna poke our head into the Lumberjack Cave quick, just to see if it's an Aghanim seed. Bombs. So, Aghanim will not necessarily be required. It's a good thing to check just to see if something like the hook shot or the boots or something important is actually on that ledge. I want more bombs. Bombs are important. Okay, so we've got 8 bombs now. That was worth the time waste. Unfortunately, we really didn't end up needing the South Shore checks that we did. probably not worth it. I was forgetting part of that, and I think I went the wrong way, so we'll just pretend that didn't happen, and hey, at least we got that one check out of the way. Right now, because of where we're at, we have not found a sword. We do not have a shield. The only way we could actually kill enemies right now is throwing signs and bushes at them, or with the bombs we've got, which is why I'm not rushing into the areas that require us to kill enemies. Boomerang. Still can't kill enemies most of the time. Ether technically can. Bombos. That's okay. We got half magic and 2 pendants. That's kind of weird, but good. So Kakariko Village has a very high density of items right off the bat. I think there's something like, let's see, like 13 or 17, where the only thing you need is bombs and some rupees. Technically a bottle for one of them, and the boots for one of them. But most of them are freely accessible. If you happen to get the flute, the boots, the several other items like that, we are picking up rupees as we go here, just for the sake of it, because we do need lots of rupees earlier. Less than we would because of those bombs we found. Okay, that guy's check wasn't worth it. Bottle vendor sells you an item for 100 rupees. Oops. Got the chicken halfway through the wall. It's a simple clip you can throw. If you throw the chicken right as the door opens, you can get it all the way through the wall. We just got it stuck in the wall, so I was a little off. Okay, we don't have access to Sick Kid. He needs you have to have a bottle to get that checked. Single arrow there, no loss. And cut across over here. And check the race game. Shovel is actually might be necessary, so we're gonna go get that. Most of the time that is not worth, or this is not worth doing, so walking over there saves you the time of blowing up this wall and going through the maze. And since we just got that, we're actually gonna go east and use it. Because that seems like a good idea. I hope I don't have to go too long without a sword. I really don't like not having a sword. Those 4 bushes have a higher than average chance to have bombs in them. That's why I stopped to check 2 of them. Grab that, because we're not done with rupees yet. We're gonna take a quick detour back to the to my house. Now that we have bombs. And we're gonna go over to the Moldorm cave. This is gonna be... Actually, no, I'll probably just use the medallion for this. We'll just bombos it. Those crabs do 2 hearts of damage, so fending them off is important. Especially when you have 3 hearts and green tunic. Oh, you need a sword to use it. I'm trying to remember if you can actually kill with this. No. Okay. Let's see if we can make it over to the Ice Rod Cave. There's one more check down on this side of the lake, which is Ice Rod. Basically, it's super out of the way, so it's a good one to get it done now. If we don't get it done now, there's a decent chance it's gonna be a while. There aren't a lot of other checks left that we have either. It's basically gonna be the Palace Escape, which is only a couple items and requires us to do a lot of kills with bombs, so still hoping for some sort of progression item that'll actually unlock things. Yeah, like a bow. Bow would be good. Okay. So, Bo suggests we can go to Eastern Palace. Actually, I think we can clear Eastern Palace, just the bow. So, we'll have to be a little conservative with arrows, potentially. We can stop at Sahasrah's hut on the way, which will be quite bombable. So, one thing to just point out, in general, you want to avoid enemies instead of killing. It's a real easy habit, especially if you're used to just playing through the game, to, you know, stop and kill every enemy on the screen. Most of the time when we're doing this, the goal is to do the game, or to clear the puzzle, basically, as fast as you can. Sword. Okay. So we have Dark World access. Once we get, or we have the Moon Pearl for Dark World access, but we don't have anything to do with it to actually get to Dark World, which is interesting. So yeah, the reason I'm using Boomerang instead of trying to kill enemies with a bow and arrow is, like I said, just because we don't need to kill them. It takes time. Every time you pull out your bow, you stop, and it takes multiple bow shots to kill some of the enemies. so Eastern Palace is a pretty straightforward dungeon. Technically, these enemies can be killed with the boomerang. Unfortunately, that means you can't stun them. Glad we went over here. Big key. Big key is important. That's going to give us all of our item. Means we get all of our item checks without having to retrace the dungeon at all. I guess technically it would have to be in the front half of the dungeon because you have to get through the door. So it may save us a little time. It's good to get right now. That's the important part. Simple glitch there. If you throw those pots at the correct spots as the skeletons are spawning. Spring ball are behind. What? Okay, so both of the checks we've got remaining are going to be key items. Now those could just be rupees or bombs or something like that, but they're at least a valid item check. You can tell that because we've already collected the map and the compass. So if we didn't have the lamp, these rooms would be completely dark. It's doable. These two rooms are the only ones that I can personally do in the dark, but if you actually watch some of the people who are very good at this, they can do most of the dark rooms of the game without having an issue. That wasn't worth it. So normally you're supposed to kill all the enemies in that room, but for the sake of time, we're just pushing through. Just gonna do a quick health restore. I have a fairy in a bottle, so I'll actually revive, but I don't want to risk accidentally causing problems here, since I actually do need to fight some things. Fighting is slow, healing is slow, dying is slower. Trying to keep my arrow count as high as I can. I think. Try and soften up the last one you kill. If you already have an arrow mid-motion before it turns red, it doesn't go into that second phase. There's a more efficient quick kill, but that one seemed to work, so we'll call it good. Unfortunately, we didn't get a lot out of that. It was a crystal at least, which means it's a required dungeon. So it's not like we were wasting our time. I think trying to think of what else we actually have access to. I think we do the rescue sequence now that we've got a sword. Consistent weapon is nice. Don't have to worry about ammo and such for it. Signs and pots are the highest damage thing we have available still right now. They do 3 damage, or equivalent of 3 hits of damage, basically. We're gonna do Zelda's Cell first. Crap, I've got a fairy. Okay, so we're either gonna have to walk out or we're gonna have to walk back up to the entrance a second time. The normal strategy here, with what we have, would be to get to the Zelda's cell at the end of this section, and then let an enemy kill you intentionally, which lets you warp back out to the front of the dungeon. But because we have a fairy, we'd have to let them kill us twice. Now that's not a ton of health still, it's doable. Timely heart container piece that refilled our health there. So we're now back at full health when we were potentially going to be trying to kill ourselves twice for Death Warp. We'll just walk back out, whatever. I'm pretty sure... that's faster than going back to... or than safe putting out. I'm not 100% sure on that, but we'll just roll with it. Again, taking routes to avoid enemies, trying to avoid getting into any actual fights. So, as you've noticed, probably arrows are twice as powerful as a sword hit. Like I said, pots are 3 times as powerful as a standard sword hit. The spin slash is actually twice as powerful as a regular sword hit as well. So there's some interesting back and forth there on what the most efficient way to get through this is going to be. Dark Cross. Map. So if we didn't have that key from the Sanctuary, we wouldn't have been able to get through there. There are 3 more treasure chests in the back here. Normally we'd be able to access it, but we'd need the glove first to get back to it, so this is important. Master Sword, Flute. Okay. That's interesting. Unfortunately, that suggests we might be doing Aghanim. So yeah, I think we've got all the stuff we need to do Aghanim. But even if we do Aghanim, it's not a lot of... It doesn't unlock a lot. Like, it technically gives access to Dark World, but without flippers or hookshot or something like that, it's very limited as to what it actually gives you access. So we're gonna do Flute. So we can get that mobility. This will give us access to Death Mountain right away. That's the main thing it unlocks at this point, though. Actually, I think that's all it unlocks at this point. Let's check Sick Kid, now that we have a bottle. So for the sake of not leaving this one hanging, lots of arrow drops in this seed. Or lots of them are early at least, which means we're probably going to get a lot of rupees later. Okay. So still nothing. This is one of those I had already went to the location, but I didn't actually get the reward, so I want to make sure I actually do that while I'm thinking about it, so I don't confuse myself later. So first thing we're going to do on Death Mountain is actually backtrack. Get the old man. This will unlock Death Mountain as a potential start location and give an item. From here, there's only a couple items we can actually get. That's not actually helpful. I feel like these are still worth checking, because it's better than doing Aghanim. For the record, Aghanim is... You have to climb Aghanim's tower. It is painful. It's long. There's a lot of enemies that are fairly difficult for the time, or for the area. Meaning the light world. Lots of the red guards and such that take multiple hits. Container, and let's see what we got. Rupees. Well. Trying to think if there's anything else here, and I don't think there is. That. Yeah. Pretty sure we got all the checks that we can do at this time. So, heading to Aghanim. That'll open up only a few locations, technically. Oh wait, no, that opens up Pulse of Darkness, which we have partial access to with a bow. So Aghanim's Gauntlet's going to be a little rough here. With Master Sword, Green Tunic, and very little in the way of power. This is actually really close to vanilla Aghanim climb. If anything, you have less hearts than you normally would at this point. So there's a few rooms here that we actually have to kill enemies, and a few rooms that we don't. There are no treasure chests in this climb. And by no treasure chests, there are literally 2, but both of them contain keys that are needed to progress. So it's nothing like... nothing that will impact your run. Maybe a better way to put it. The only thing this gives access to is that ledge that I checked, which is just a couple bombs. And Darkhold if you don't have access to Darkhold. So I hate this maze so much. So once again, a lot of these rooms don't actually have locked doors at all. You can just run to the next room and you don't have an issue. And also, once again, oh crap. Bow does does 2 hearts of damage, or 2 hits worth of damage, so does the Master Sword, so it's about even at this point, but those spin slashes count for extra. Some bombs in a chest requiring a specialist to unlock. Okay, so the purple chest, which is normally a side quest we can do later, we know does not have an item. Just bombs. Actually, let's do... I think there's... yeah. Right there. Move slightly up and then run through there to not get hit. Most of these rooms, there's a very set pattern you can do to not get hit and not have to fight the enemies. Okay. So that wasn't as terrible as I was thinking it was going to be, but it was a longer Aghanim run. A lot of times if you have, Fire Rod or a more powerful sword, you can do more with that. You always want to be to the side, because if he throws that blue projectile, it goes out in everywhere but sideways. It's random how many of those he throws, and we have the literal worst luck we could get. Every 5th hit is top center there. The A button was, looked like it might have accidentally gotten the turbo pushed at some point, which actually, okay. So that was me getting distracted and not taking my own advice. You can also tell when he's doing lightning because he doesn't turn to face you. So. The important part here is we didn't miss any hits. So that's the fastest it could have gone for this scene. Okay, we are now in Dark World with Green Tunic and 6 hearts. This could be rough. So that's not the item we're looking for. Let's see, we can't do catfish even. We don't have gloves. No hammer, so yeah, it is just Palace of Darkness. Yeah, if we had Hookshot, we could go across the north side, across the river. If we had Hammer, we could go south and do Hype Cave. If we had Gloves, we could do Catfish. I'm guessing we're going to find one of those coming up here. Or we're going to find the mirror or something else that will give us more progression on the light world. Oops. That's impressive. I don't know if I've missed that maze in a while. If Kiki gets hit, or if you get hit while Kiki's traveling with you, then you have to redo that section. Go back to the hedge maze, get Kiki. So we can't full clear this unless we find the hammer. Basically, I'm gonna see what we can find, and hopefully we'll get some progression. If we find hammer, we'll just finish it, because I'm okay with finishing dungeons. I didn't even check if it was a crystal or a pendant. But technically, this part doesn't matter if it is. The only time, or if we finish it, it could matter. So actually, before we go any further, let's do that real quick. It is a pendant dungeon. Along with Sewer and Mire. Or Swamp and Mire. This is the room that requires the bow. Crap. There are 2 rooms that require the bow in this dungeon. Both of them are because of those red mimic enemies. I suppose technically the statue also. And without the hammer, we have to walk back. Again, we have that fairy in a bottle, so we actually can't just do a death warp. It's not a super long walk. Oops. So now, because we've done that, we can continue exploring here. Let's make sure this is a key still. It usually is. I'm not 100% on the key logic for this dungeon, though. Okay, so we know that's the compass. If we don't find the map, we can skip the boss theoretically. That's right. So I think we're gonna cut across here. We're gonna check these other chests first, and then we'll come back to do that last one. Or the last three, and then we'll just warp out once we're done. This is also a really good hook shot. Okay. That is all the progression. We're gonna do this so we can give rupees to Zora later. We're officially past 500, so we're good. Now we don't have to worry about rupees for the rest of the game. I believe this one should just be a key, but we'll double check. Oh, a mushroom. Glad I checked. So, from where we're at, Hookshot gives us access to Eastern Death Mountain, but only the Light World side, currently. Never mind. That's the hammer, so we can actually finish this dungeon if we want. But it is a pendant, so I don't feel like we're probably going to unless we find the map here. There's a decent chance that the item in at the boss is just going to be a pendant, which we don't need, and the map, which we don't need. I was going to save quit out. Okay, so we have full access to Dark World, I think? Except for Death Mountain. And actually, I think this is going to be faster. I'm not sure this is faster, but I think it's faster. That's gonna be my motto for the day. Since we don't have the Power Glove, our only options here are going to be using the hammer or the hook shot to get across, as I mentioned. We really don't want to sit here and fight these guys. If we have to, we can. But for the most part, those guys hit really hard, and we don't have a good way to actually deal with them. So we're going to do the southern approach here first. So Digging Game, the Grove are all on this side of the map. And then we'll have to go back to get the other one. Flippers. That's really unfortunate. So with mirror and flippers, that means that we have to do... That means we have full access to Swamp Palace, which is also a pendant. We'll see if we find anything else before we go do that, though. We have access to a lot of checks right now. Ideally, we don't want to go up Death Mountain again. Technically, we could do Tower of Hera. We can do the whole eastern side of Death Mountain in Light World. Bombs. We can do Thieves Town, which is a crystal. We can do the front of Skullwoods, which is a crystal. We can turn in the mushroom, which I will definitely be doing here once we finish. Basically, the next time I do a... The next time I fly, we'll do that. So the downside with this is we don't have the Power Gloves or Titan Mitt, so we can't actually go up into Thieves Town from the south side. There's a random number of digs that this takes to get the item. In the regular game, it's given a random location each time you pay, so it takes forever. This one, I think it's third. That's a Tempered Sword. Okay. That'll help with damage. We should start back on Pyramid, which is what we wanted. Because we still don't have any gloves, which means we don't have access to... Okay, so if we ever need bombs, we can stun an enemy. Every enemy that you stun is gonna give the same drop, which in this case is 8 bombs. Forgot about that. Those guys are really hurt. I'm trying to remember how to actually get up to the Graveyard Ledge while we're here. I swear you can get up there without actually using the gloves. Maybe oh, you need boots to do it. Never mind. I love how I'm still at low enough health that my heart meter isn't blinking at me for having 2 hearts. That's really a good sign of how weak I am right now for where we're at. Okay, so we're gonna head down this way. Village of Outcasts. There's only a few checks here. It's not nearly as dense as Kakariko, but it's something. I mean, we were low on arrows, but it's not progression. So there's only a couple, or there's only one more on this area. Then we'll check Thieves Town, which we can full clear. That was a good time for a health refresh. Actually, good time this time. Having the fairy still is actually a good thing finally, because this dungeon's not like super hard, but it's not an easy dungeon either. These enemies hit pretty hard for the fact that we've got 8 hearts and green tunic. Really what I'm saying is, if I screw up, this could hurt a lot. I will be punished for mistakes that I make. So as long as I'm patient and take my time, we should be fine. Hopefully we'll get like a... I'd definitely be okay with getting like a blue tunic and some gloves here. Okay. So, one of the reasons you always try and do this dungeon as early as you can is because in order to beat the boss, you have to go through almost the entire dungeon. There's literally one room that you skip if you don't. If you're not looking for any items, you can skip treasure chests in most dungeons. In this one, you can't. There's literally one treasure chest you skip. Everything else is right on the way. These enemies really hurt, so we're going to be very careful here. By the way, I was talking about different sword damages earlier. Tempered sword is the same as a pot, so 3 hit, effectively 3 hits. The other thing that I didn't mention when I was talking about sword hits is the pokes. So if you hold your sword out and have it like are charging the spin slash, it does a poke, which does, I think it always does 1. It's either that or it's down a grade from the normal sword. You need the power glove for that. You can still get through, it just requires a little bit of extra work. So now we hope that the small key is down here. Because if it's not, we're gonna have to come back after we beat the boss, which is not fun. I'm gonna do that just to make sure we don't get hit. Okay, looks like we're double dipping. Looks like we're not double dipping because the boss could have the compass also. So the boss either has the key or the compass. And either way, we don't actually need to beat it, or to go into that room. So every dungeon still has the big key, the map, and the compass, along with any small keys that were normally in that dungeon. That way it makes sure that you still have access to all the things. And so when I was talking, or when I've talked about, you know, how many items are left, like when I was deciding whether or not I had to beat the boss in Palace of Darkness, it was because the only item that was left I do not know the full script for this. I can do the first hit. Okay, we really need to beat this because going into blind after a death is really rough. Because instead of having the time to approach from the top, you're approaching from the bottom. Okay, so that last room is staying locked. There's no progression behind it. But we did get a crystal. Again, not so much in the way of progression. Still. Got a crystal. Part of the problem right now is also just that there's so much kind of half open. Like, there's a lot of stuff we can possibly get to, but it's a lot of roundabout stuff. A lot of stuff that's kind of out of the way. A lot of stuff we'd have to double dip. Like, we can do Skull Woods, but right now we can't actually complete Skull Woods. We'd have to come back and do it later. Which isn't the end of the world, because Skull Woods actually is very segmented for a dungeon. God, I hate those enemies. Let's see if we need to steal a key. Mess that up a little bit. We do. Okay, so we actually need to go into this other room here, which we can normally skip. But there's no... We didn't find a key, so we actually have to go through here. Get out. Wait, what? They changed something. Am I forgetting something or missing something? Okay. Well then. So still no access to Catfish. A little more forward. So technically we still have a little bit of Skull Woods we could check. Oh. I forgot what I said. We're gonna do Witch real quick, because if Witch ends up being important, I'll feel dumb if I don't do a quick check. I guess technically... No. Ice Pulse is not on the table until we get the gloves. Zora technically is. Let's do the water checks quick. Do the hobo, and then we'll teleport up to Zora. Then we'll go up to the mountain and do Tower of Hera and East Death Mountain. Although, actually, we're getting close to an hour also, so I might take a break here. Let's do Zora, because that's the one that doesn't require us to warp again. In fact, if we wanted to do Zora, well... Okay. I'm not sure if this is technically faster, but I think it is. I did say that was going to be my motto for the day. So there's 4 checks up here, one of which we need to get 3 more rupees. Okay, we're good now. I was a little nervous there for a second. I think we're actually completely done with rupees after Zora. We've already done the digging game, Kiki, and the let's see, digging game, Kiki, and the treasure chest game are the other places you needed, and the bottle vendor, obviously. And we got a blue potion just for safekeeping, so... Another fairy in a bottle. You know what? I'm gonna do my Death Mountain checks. And then I'm gonna take a break. Because I'm bad at making decisions and not saying, let's try one more thing. So I'm actually gonna do Hera the vanilla way. Like, we're gonna go up through the portal, cross over, because Hera is... Basically, if we find gloves, then that gives us access to... It's unlikely we're gonna find both sets of gloves, but if we do, I want to be on the east side when we find them. So... Cross back over a spectacle rock, get our heart piece. Tower of Hera, which is a pendant, or not a pendant, it's a... book. That gives us access to desert, although we may not actually finish it. I never remember which way we want the crystals facing. I think that's right. Nope. Gives us the route where we can do this. I'm gonna just do this the vanilla way so I don't have to fall back down a second time. because I can't do the bomb jump, and I don't have boots. Map. So now we hope that Moldorm does not have the compass. As long as Moldorm doesn't have the compass, we don't have to do the basement. Moldorm does have the compass, we do. Okay, so Moldorm should take 3 hits with Tempered Sword. Or 1 that way, or 1 spin and 1 regular hit. Okay, no basement needed. We got the gold sword. That's actually really nice. Our defenses are still really low. We're very killable. We're very squishy. But that's not the end of the world. Unless we die, and then it's the end of our world temporarily. Ah, dead rocks. We're just gonna respawn everything, because it's better than dealing with that enemy on the bridge. Dead rocks are the worst. Okay, so we're gonna do this on our way down. I always hate that the beams always just do the 1 damage. It very often feels like it's worth it to just take a hit just to not have accidentally hit the enemies with beams. More arrows. I mean, I appreciate it having started with the bow, but at this point I've got a level 4 sword. I don't need your arrows. Okay, Paradox Cave. It's called Paradox Cave because you go in at the bottom, drop down, and then come out on top. This is one of the other very dense areas here. Canis Samaria is good. It's not great, but it's good. More arrows, more bombs. This is getting ridiculous. So, Samaria is something we need. Hey, Fire Rod, we can finish. Okay. Fire Rod lets us finish Skullwoods also. So now we can do Desert and Skullwoods. And this is going to be a good time to stop and take a break. So, hopefully you're still enjoying. If you are, please give me a like and subscribe. Check out the other content on my channel. Got a whole bunch more of these Zelda Randomizer runs. Recently I've been doing a lot of Final Fantasy IV Randomizer. And also my very first videos were a lot of Lufia Ancient Cave, which is kind of in the same vein. If you just want to see Zelda runs, I've got regular Zelda runs, a bunch of Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger, a bunch of other stuff. Yeah. We'll catch you next time. And as always, have a good one.